Hello, good people, and welcome to Happy Healthy Whole with Sharia Farmer. I am your host, Sharia, and I'm excited as always to have you join me. Um, Today's topic is really about what types of mindfulness activities can really help assist us with our wellness and our response to trauma, because we've been talking about trauma this last few weeks. And so I'm going to start by saying, if you haven't already used our hashtag healing in joy, please do. This is going to be a way for me to gain some interaction around uh, engagement around talking to each other and encouraging each other and what resonates in some of the topics or subjects that we talk about here on our channel, Happy Healthy Whole with Sharia. And so hashtag healing in joy is what I'll be checking out throughout the weeks and trying to either respond to questions and or share or like some of the posts that come under that specific hashtag. Again, we're going to start with our to heal or not to heal segment. This is where we discuss a affirmation or a area of support that or a statement of support that might be able to get us through and or guide us through this week. And specifically, I choose the statement based off of what the topic is. And so today, I am going to use for our heal or not to heal section, I am nurturing resilience through daily practices of mindfulness. Again, I am nurturing resilience through daily practices of mindfulness. This is a opportunity for you to journal, explore, and to challenge yourself if this affirmation is helpful, if it can be changed to a very specific, after this week, you'll actually know some very specific forms of mindfulness. And so you might change it to hit on exactly which form of mindfulness best fits your healing journey. And so, that being said, I welcome you back again for another week of really dealing with and responding to practical ways for Black women to prioritize healing and self love and their journey. And so, with that being said, today we're going to talk about nurturing resilience through daily practices of mindfulness, similar to our heal or not to heal moment. So, the first thing before we get started is understanding our triggers. Before we can even get into what mindfulness activity would be best for us or which one would be best in that moment, we kind of need to understand that each of them can be used differently according to what you are responding to or what trigger comes up in you. And so, going back to those normal reactions, those responses that we talked about in the first week of this series, it really becomes important for you to know what triggers you're experiencing and what responses or reaction you are having to the actual trauma or past traumatic event. And so, what stimulates or evokes an emotion or physical response that's linked to that past experience? So, that's what a trigger really is. What or identifying that is going to be important, because then the mindfulness tool that you select now will be based off of that actual triggered emotion or physical response. And so it allows you to face the mindfulness activity will allow you to face the actual trigger and or experience of the past event in your mind so that you can be grounded and centered and present. And so mindfulness involves being fully present and engaged in the current moment without judgment. Just going back to that definition from last time, understanding that there's various tools and practices is going to be important. And so today we're going to talk about some examples of mindfulness tools that you can use. The first one is, you may hear people say things like breath work, and I do my breath work, or I'm doing these different things. But really, when you think about it, it's just breath awareness, focusing on your breath. So, really paying attention to the sensation of each inhale, exhale, and then using a guided breathing exercise or app to assist you in this rhythmic breathing can be a healthful way of practicing that breath work. And so, if you are not able to, say, naturally identify or acknowledge your breath, you might do something called guided breath exercises, which means that you might do a activity where someone is guiding you to breathe for 10 seconds, but they're saying, notice your exhale. And I'm putting my hand on my chest, but you also can put it on your stomach. And you might say, notice your inhale, notice your exhale. And so, as you're noticing that, you're just literally learning to identify it and to practice it as part of your breath work. And so, think about it from the perspective of breath awareness. How you do so or how you learn to do so can vary based off of your skill set. And also, if you're doing it independent or with a therapist or a different form of groups. The next thing is body scans. So, body scans are scans from your head to your toe. And so what you may hear people say is from my crown to the ground, right? And so I'm scanning from the top of my head all the way through the features of my face, through the neck, through the shoulders, through my arms and my limbs, my chest, my pelvis area, and then down my legs to my toes to my feet, or my ankles to my feet to my toes, right? And so I'm doing this in a way that is paying attention to each part and releasing tension by using that breath work that we talked about earlier to go through or to guide our inhale, exhale through those areas and scan and promote relaxation, right? So this helps us become more aware of our physical sensations. And it really does allow for us to be one with our body in a way that is connecting with even the tension that we might be feeling. So that's body scanning. Another one is mindfulness walking. So talk about a method that could do things, multiple things, which is be in nature and enjoying the outside. But you can also do it on a treadmill, don't get me wrong, or do it in a way that is about where you can pace yourself. But what you're going to do is you're going to take a slow walk and pay attention to each step and the sensation of that movement. I'm naturally moving my body because I'm moving in step, right? And so noticing your surroundings, your sound, the sounds of what's surrounding you, and then feeling it throughout your body as you're taking each motion. So mindfulness walking, that's an opportunity. Meditation. Most people, when they think of mindfulness, this is the first one that they go to, and they're like, I can't meditate. I can't clear my mind. I can't get focused enough to do so. Let me first give you tell you to take a deep breath and understanding that even when we sit in meditation and focus on a specific point, there's times when our mind may wander and go places. And that still does not mean we cannot meditate. It means that we are doing different forms of meditation that are helping us to learn how to get to a place of specific point focus. And what that might look like is guided meditation sessions. It might look like practicing through guided until we can do it ourselves. And so it might be as simple as listening to a story and seeing it or visualizing it as you are listening to it. It can start different ways for each of us. For others, it might be about closing your eyes and really monitoring what your thoughts are saying to you, and then cleaning them out and putting them into a file cabinet or removing them. It can be a number of different ways. And then what meditation allows us to do is to start guiding our thoughts with a practice that is about specifically thinking about a point and moving it through and moving throughout that point, right? So guided meditation could be on nature, on breath, on mantras, right? So our different affirmations. It could be on a number of those things, or it can be on all of those in one session. Really understanding that there's no wrong way to meditate. And as you get better or mature in it, you might have different levels of focus on a specific point. That's it. Different levels of focus on a specific point. The next thing is journaling. I always say mindfulness includes journaling, understanding, writing your thoughts down and your feelings without judgment, understanding that these things are reflections of what you are feeling, what you're acknowledging. And then on a level, you're being non-judgmental so you can have compassion and release. Also, reflect on positive aspects and things for you to be grateful for in your journaling. Thinking about how to make these healthy coping are really, really important. So as you mature again in your practicing of journaling, you not only are writing down your thoughts and feelings without judgment, but you're learning how to reflect on an aspect of positive aspect and thinking about your gratitude for that moment or for that day. So really this one is about levels, but also understanding that no level is wrong. All right. The next thing is mindfulness eating. Pay attention to things like flavor and taste and texture, smell, and different ways that the food is creating sensations. One of my tips for this one is it's also a good technique to help you eat slowly, to savor each bite without distraction. And so thinking about mindfulness eating. Um, Another one is sensory awareness. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity that I've seen go around on social media a lot is doing just that. So it's engaging your senses by focusing on your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, and touch, right? And so what do you see? You hear them say 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell, 2 things you taste, and 1 thing you touch. And so that might be an example of sensory awareness. These things bring your attention to the present moment and you use your senses to do so. Yoga is the next practice for mindfulness. So practicing mindfulness yoga is like paying attention again to our bodies and going back to that breath work. So that body scan and breath work in motion and in movement. So yoga can help you integrate mindfulness into your physical activity in a way that is about being present, breathing, stretching, and allowing movement throughout your body. So it's relieving some of those areas of tension that you might have acknowledged in your body scan. Another thing is guided imagery. So visualizing peaceful scenes of positive scenery to promote that feeling or experience of relaxation. So you might do things like use recorded script that creates the story if you're not a visual person naturally. You might have apps or different ways to create this vision, this guided imagery. But really what it does is it gives you the opportunity to visualize peaceful places and to promote that relaxation of that peaceful place. So for some of us, that's the picture of the beach that we may have on our screensaver. And now we are actually going to use it, our own minds, to create that picture, right? So we're going to close our eyes, um, envision the beach, look for the sun shining on our face and in our areas of our life. So it might be in our chest area, our legs, our arms. It might just be throughout our entire body that the light is shining on. So creating this imagery of the sun beaming down to our body, and then ultimately seeing the sand, the ocean, and the sounds of the ocean as you're connecting. And so I'm actually literally giving you an example of a scenery that might be positive for me. Another one might be mountains or hiking on a trail, creating those sceneries or guided imageries that create positive and relaxing emotions inside of you. And then gratitude practice. This is another one that's extremely important, which is about regular expressions of gratitude for the positive aspects of life. Sometimes when trauma happens, it becomes really difficult to see these things. And so I always challenge us to recognize that that doesn't mean that something's wrong with us. It just means that we have to look at gratitude with a different lens. And so today, taking a deep breath, acknowledging that breath. I'm grateful to be able to do so. Those are still moments of expression of gratitude without it having to be a mansion on the hill, $1 million in the bank, all of these material things that come from what we've learned around what happiness and success is in capitalism. Really, it can be as simple as I am connecting in this moment. I'm grateful for breath. I am grateful for sceneries of snow because that's what I see right now, right? I am going to acknowledge those things that are aspects of my life that are positive, even if they are minute to others. I always like to write them down. I like to do them as spoken word, but writing is also a technique that I think also evens our mental acknowledgement of it. So it gives us the mental and physical connection to the gratitude. So that's my last one for you, because if you've ever followed this channel or if you've been with me for years, gratitude is one of the areas that I actually spend some heavy time on with my clients. in a way that is making it realistic to the navigation of racism, sexism, and the different isms that they might experience, and also acknowledging as part of how they experience joy. So remember, mindfulness is a skill that develops with consistent practice. And so any of the ones that we talked about today, from body scan to gratitude practices, gratitude practicing requires that we exercise the tool, which means that we participate in it. And remember, you don't have to do a formal meditation session or guided meditation to incorporate mindfulness into a daily activity. The key is be present and be non-judgmental. All right, y'all take good care of yourselves, and I will see you on the other side. Actually, I think next week I may do a guided meditation for you as our representation of healing in the moment. All right, y'all be well.